Welcome back to my channel, Old Quarter Dollar USA. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of Washington quarter dollar coin values. We'll explore the top 4 most valuable, rare, and expensive Washington quarters ever discovered in the United States. From historic P, D, and S mint marks to rare minting errors, silver varieties, unusual color tones, and even worn or dirty coins, some ordinary-looking quarters have shocked collectors by selling for thousands, and in a few extraordinary cases, even millions of dollars coin number 1. Today, we're uncovering the remarkable story of the 1980 D Washington quarter, a coin that millions of people have handled without ever realizing the history it carries. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary 25-cent coin, but every collector knows that appearances can be deceiving. Hidden among countless common quarters are few extraordinary examples that have captured the attention of collectors and auction buyers. Before you spend a 1980 D quarter, take a closer look, because the smallest detail can sometimes separate an everyday coin from a highly desirable collectible. The D mint mark tells us this quarter was produced at the United States Mint in Denver, one of the nation's busiest coin-producing facilities. By 1980, the Washington quarter had already become a familiar part of daily American life, serving millions of people in stores, banks, and businesses across the country. Although the design remained classic and recognizable, every coin leaving the mint represented the precision and craftsmanship required to produce America's circulating currency. The 1980 D quarter became another chapter in the long and respected history of the Washington quarter series. Unlike the silver quarters made before 1965, the 1980 D Washington quarter was struck using a copper core covered with layers of nickel. This durable clad composition was designed to withstand years of circulation, while keeping production costs practical. Even though it no longer contained silver, the coin continued to preserve the famous portrait of George Washington and the iconic eagle reverse that collectors admired for decades. Its familiar appearance made it an everyday coin, yet its historical place within the Washington quarter series continues to make it interesting for collectors today. Most 1980 D quarters entered circulation and experienced years of heavy use, collecting scratches, worn edges, and faded surfaces along the way. However, a much smaller number escaped circulation and remained in brilliant mint condition. These sharply struck coins still display original luster and crisp design details that distinguish them from ordinary examples. Collectors often pay much stronger prices for these exceptional survivors because finding them after decades of circulation has become increasingly difficult. Some of the greatest excitement surrounding the 1980 D quarter comes from genuine mint errors. During production, mistakes occasionally occurred, creating coins with off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, weak strikes, or other unusual characteristics. These errors are much scarcer than standard coins and are carefully sought by collectors who specialize in mint mistakes. When authenticated and preserved in excellent condition, these unusual quarters can command prices that are many times higher than their face value, proving that rare production errors can transform an ordinary coin into an extraordinary collectible. Many people believe that an old, dark, or dirty quarter must automatically be valuable because it looks different from newer coins. In reality, dirt and discoloration usually do not increase value, and cleaning a collectible coin often reduces its appeal. Original surfaces are highly respected in the collecting community because they preserve the coin exactly as it has survived through history. If you discover an unusual-looking 1980 D quarter, the best decision is to leave it untouched until it can be examined by an experienced collector or professional grading service. Stories often circulate claiming that every old Washington quarter is worth thousands or even millions of dollars. These stories capture attention, but the truth is much more balanced. Most circulated 1980 D quarters remain worth only 25 cents. The coins that achieve remarkable prices are those with exceptional preservation, important mint errors, or other rare characteristics confirmed through professional authentication. Understanding this difference is one of the first lessons every successful collector learns. If you come across a 1980 D Washington quarter that seems unusual, study it carefully. Look for clear differences in the strike, lettering, edge, weight, or overall appearance. Compare it with another quarter from the same period and avoid making any changes to its surface. Sometimes a tiny detail overlooked by others becomes a feature that attracts serious collector interest. Patience and careful observation are often more valuable than rushing to sell a coin without knowing its true identity. Beyond its potential collectible value, the 1980 D. Washington quarter represents an important piece of American history. It reflects an era when millions of these coins quietly supported everyday commerce across the nation. Every scratch and every sign of circulation tells part of its journey through countless hands, businesses, and communities. Even if a particular coin is not rare, it still carries the story of a generation and a role that everyday currency played in American life next top two. Today we're exploring the fascinating story of the 1969 D. Washington quarter, a coin that has captured the attention of collectors for generations. At first glance, it appears to be an ordinary 25-cent coin that has passed through countless hands over the years. Yet hidden behind its familiar design is a remarkable history that connects it to one of the most exciting periods in modern American coin collecting. Every old quarter has a story, but the 1969 D. Washington quarter reminds us that sometimes history and hidden value can be found in the most unexpected places. The D Mint mark on this coin tells us it was struck at the United States Mint facility in Denver. By 1969, America had already entered a new chapter of coin production. Rising silver prices had ended the era of circulating silver quarters, and the nation had adopted a durable copper-nickel clad composition for everyday use. Although the appearance remained almost unchanged, the metal inside the coin represented a major turning point in American monetary history. The 1969 D quarter became part of this important transition, making it a meaningful piece for collectors who appreciate both history and craftsmanship. Billions of quarters were produced during this era, but not every coin left the mint exactly as intended. Occasionally, machinery produced unusual mistakes that escaped into circulation. Some 1969 D quarters display off-center strikes, die cracks, clip planchets, or other genuine mint errors that immediately attract the attention of experienced collectors. These rare production mistakes are far scarcer than normal coins, and when they are authenticated, they can command impressive prices in the collector market. It is these unusual examples, not ordinary circulation coins, that create the excitement surrounding the 1969 D issue. Another reason collectors search for this date is the possibility of discovering an exceptionally preserved coin. Most 1969 D quarters spend decades in circulation, picking up scratches, worn details, and dull surfaces from everyday use. However, a small number survived untouched in original mint condition with brilliant luster and razor-sharp details. These high-grade examples are much more difficult to locate today because so many were heavily used. When professionally graded with outstanding preservation, they can sell for prices far above their face value because collectors compete for the finest surviving examples. The famous portrait of George Washington on the front and the majestic eagle on the reverse make the 1969 D quarter one of the last classic Washington eagle quarters before later design changes decades afterward. This timeless artwork has become one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. For many collectors, owning a beautifully preserved 1969 D quarter is about more than value. It is about preserving a small piece of American history that reflects the craftsmanship of its era. Many people become excited when they discover an old, dark, or dirty quarter, believing its appearance alone makes it valuable. In reality, natural aging does not automatically increase value, and cleaning a collectible coin often does more harm than good. Polishing removes the original mint surface that collectors value most. If your 1969 D quarter appears unusual, leaving it in its original condition is usually the wisest choice until it can be properly examined by an experienced collector or professional grading service. From time to time, stories appear claiming that every 1969 D quarter is worth a fortune. Those stories create excitement, but they rarely tell the complete picture. The vast majority of circulated 1969 D quarters remain worth only 25 cents. The coins that reach extraordinary prices are the rare exceptions, pieces with major mint errors, remarkable preservation, or other unusual characteristics verified by professional authentication. Understanding this difference helps collectors focus on what truly makes a coin special. If you find a 1969 D. Washington quarter that seems different from others. Examine it carefully. Look for unusual strike quality, missing details, dramatic doubling, or other features that stand out. Compare it with another quarter from the same era and avoid making changes to its surface. If the coin appears genuinely unusual, professional authentication can determine whether it is simply an ordinary quarter or a collectible rarity that deserves greater attention. The history of the 1969 D. Washington quarter reminds us that even common circulation coins can become fascinating when viewed to the eyes of a collector. Every scratch, every design detail, and every production characteristic tells part of the story of American coinage during a period of major change. Whether discovered in an old collection, a forgotten coin jar, or everyday pocket change, each 1969 D quarter carries a connection to the people, economy, and history of its time. Next top 3. Today, we're uncovering the incredible story behind the 1967 Washington quarter with no mint mark, a coin that has sparked curiosity among collectors for decades. At first glance, it may seem like nothing more than an ordinary 25-cent coin hiding in an old jar or tucked away inside a forgotten wallet. But history has taught us that some of the most valuable discoveries begin with coins that everyone else ignores. The 1967 quarter is one of those fascinating pieces that reminds us to always look twice before spending our pocket change, because rare surprises can sometimes be hiding in plain sight. To understand why this coin attracts so much attention, we have to travel back to the late 1960s when the United States was facing a nationwide coin shortage. People were saving silver coins because the value of silver continued to rise, leaving fewer coins in circulation. To help solve the problem, the U.S. Mint temporarily removed mint marks from circulating coins dated 1965 through 1967. That is why every normal 1967 Washington quarter was made without a mint mark. Many people believe the missing mint mark makes the coin rare, but in reality it was completely intentional and became part of one of the most interesting chapters in American coin history. The 1967 quarter also represents a new era in coin production. Earlier Washington quarters contained 90% silver, but by 1967 the quarter was being struck using a copper core covered with nickel. This new clad composition was introduced because silver had become too expensive for everyday circulating coins. Even though the metal changed, the classic design featuring George Washington remained the same, allowing the coin to preserve its historic appearance while beginning a completely different chapter in American currency. That connection between old traditions and new technology is one reason collectors continue searching for these coins today. Now comes the exciting part that captures every collector's imagination. While ordinary 1967 quarters are common, a tiny number were struck with unusual minting mistakes. Some display dramatic off-center strikes, double lettering, clipped planchets, die cracks, or other production errors that make them stand out from billions of normal coins. These genuine mint errors are scarce and can attract strong interest from collectors. When professionally authenticated, some rare error examples have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, proving that an ordinary-looking quarter can sometimes become an extraordinary collectible. Another mystery surrounding the 1967 Washington quarter involves accidental strikes on the wrong type of metal. During the coining process, mistakes occasionally occurred, and a few coins were reportedly struck on planchets intended for other denominations or leftover metal blanks. These unusual pieces are extremely rare and are among the most desirable modern mint errors. Finding one is incredibly unlikely, but their existence keeps collectors examining every unusual coin they discover. It is these rare mistakes, not ordinary circulation coins, that create the biggest excitement in the collecting community. Condition is another factor that can completely change the value of a 1967 quarter. Most examples spend decades in everyday circulation, collecting scratches, worn details, and faded surfaces. However, a small number survived in brilliant uncirculated condition with sharp details and original mint luster. These beautifully preserved coins are far more desirable than heavily worn examples. Professional grading services reward outstanding preservation with high grades, and collectors are often willing to pay significant premiums for the finest known examples because they are much harder to find. Many people also believe that a dark, dirty, or toned quarter must automatically be valuable because it appears old. The truth is very different. Dirt and discoloration usually do not increase a coin's value, and cleaning a collectible coin can permanently damage its original surface. Experienced collectors prefer natural surfaces because they reveal the coin's true history. If you think your 1967 quarter is unusual, leave it exactly as you found it instead of polishing it. Preserving its original condition is often the smartest decision. Stories about every 1967 quarter being worth millions have spread across the internet for years, but those claims are greatly exaggerated. The overwhelming majority of 1967 Washington quarters remain worth only their face value of 25 cents. The coins that achieve remarkable prices are the rare exceptions. Pieces with important mint errors, unusual compositions, or exceptional certified condition. The excitement comes from the possibility that one hidden rarity may still be waiting to be discovered in everyday change. If you ever come across a 1967 Washington quarter that looks different from the others, examine it carefully. Compare its weight, color, edge, and design with another quarter from the same period. If something appears unusual, consider having the coin professionally authenticated before selling it. A genuine mint error can be far more valuable than an ordinary coin, and expert verification is the only reliable way to determine exactly what you have. The 1967 Washington quarter is more than just another coin in American history. It tells the story of a nation adapting to changing economic conditions while preserving one of its most recognizable coin designs. Although most examples are common, the rare errors and exceptional survivors continue to inspire collectors around the world to search through old collections and everyday pocket change. Every coin carries a story, and the 1967 Washington quarter reminds us that history, mystery, and the thrill of discovery can all fit into the palm of your hand next top four. Today we're uncovering the fascinating story of the 1965 Washington quarter with no mint mark, a coin that many people overlook but that every collector should know about. At first glance, this quarter looks like an ordinary 25-cent coin, but its place in American coin history makes it one of the most talked about modern quarters. Before you spend a 1965 quarter, you should always take a closer look because certain examples can be surprisingly valuable. While many internet stories claim every 1965 quarter is worth millions of dollars, the truth is much more interesting. A small number of rare error coins and exceptionally preserved examples have sold for thousands of dollars, while most circulated coins remain worth only face value. Knowing the difference can save you from making a costly mistake. The year 1965 marked a turning point in United States coinage. Rising silver prices forced the U.S. Mint to stop producing quarters for circulation with 90% silver, replacing them with a copper-nickel-clad composition. This dramatic change ended an era that had lasted for decades. Because of this historic transition, millions of Americans began saving older silver quarters, while the new 1965 quarters entered circulation as the first regular-clad Washington quarters. That single change made the 1965 issue one of the most historically significant quarters ever produced, and collectors continue to study it more than 60 years later. One detail that often surprises beginners is the missing mint mark. Every regular 1965 Washington quarter was intentionally made without a mint mark, regardless of whether it was struck in Philadelphia or Denver. The U.S. Mint removed mint marks from circulating coins between 1965 and 1967 to discourage people from collecting new coins during a nationwide coin shortage. Because of this policy, finding a 1965 quarter with no mint mark is completely normal. It is not automatically rare, but understanding why it has no mint mark is an important part of the coin's fascinating history. Now comes the exciting part that keeps collectors searching through old change every day. Although billions of 1965 quarters were produced, a tiny number were struck with unusual minting mistakes. Some show dramatic double designs, while others have off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or were accidentally struck on the wrong metal planchet. These unusual mint errors are genuinely scarce and can command impressive prices when authenticated. A rare error coin in excellent condition can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on its rarity and the strength of the error. These are the coins that create headlines and inspire treasure hunters around the world. Another possibility that excites collectors is the accidental silver 1965 quarter. During the transition from silver to clad coinage, a very small number of leftover silver planchets may have been mixed into production. If a genuine 1965 quarter was struck on a 90% silver blank, it becomes one of the most desirable modern era coins. These pieces are extremely rare, and collectors are willing to pay significant amounts for authenticated examples. A simple weight test can sometimes provide the first clue, but professional authentication is essential before believing a coin is a rare silver error. Condition also plays a huge role in value. Most 1,965 quarters spent decades passing through cash registers, vending machines, and pockets, leaving them with scratches, worn details, and faded luster. However, coins that survive without entering circulation can still display brilliant mint shine and sharp details. These uncirculated examples are much harder to find than worn coins. The better the preservation, the more attractive the coin becomes to collectors, especially if it has original surfaces and no cleaning damage. High-grade examples certified by professional grading companies have sold for impressive prices because of their exceptional quality. Many people believe that a dirty or dark-colored quarter must be valuable because it looks old. In reality, dirt, stains, and discoloration usually do not increase a coin's value. In fact, cleaning a collectible coin can permanently damage its surface and reduce what collectors are willing to pay. Natural aging is acceptable, but harsh polishing removes the original finish that experienced collectors want to see. If you think you have an unusual 1965 quarter, the safest decision is to leave it exactly as you found it until an expert can examine it. One of the biggest myths surrounding the 1965 Washington quarter is that every example is worth millions of dollars. That simply is not true. Extraordinary prices are reserved for coins with exceptional rarity, major mint errors, or superb certified condition. Most ordinary circulated 1965 quarters are still worth only 25 cents. The excitement comes from searching because a small number of rare pieces really do exist. The difference between an ordinary coin and an extraordinary one often comes down to tiny details that many people overlook. If you discover a 1965 Washington quarter with unusual features, resist the temptation to sell it immediately. First, compare its weight, color, strike quality, and overall appearance with a normal quarter from the same era. If something seems different, consider having the coin examined by a professional grading service. Authentication can reveal whether you have an ordinary circulation coin or a genuine collectible with significant market value. Careful research and patience are often rewarded far more than rushing into a quick sale. The 1965 Washington quarter reminds us that history can hide inside everyday pocket change. It represents a major change in American coinage, the end of the circulating silver quarter, and the beginning of the modern clad era. While most examples are common, a few remarkable pieces continue to amaze collectors with their rarity and value. That is why millions of people still check their spare change, hoping to discover the next hidden treasure. Every coin tells a story, and the 1965 Washington quarter proves that even an ordinary-looking 25-cent piece can become an unforgettable chapter in the history of American coins.